Right, unheard of for me to actually do some kind of demonstration as far as applications concerned. I'm going to do one. Right, mortar table. Mortar, that's the exact same mortar you've seen me knock up. Hawk, comedy hawk. The reason why I'm on this is because whatever didn't get nicked or lost on site is on another job. So this is the last one. And you know what, I never thought I'd ever see the day where I was using something this small, but it isn't half dead easy. Don't even know I've done the day's work after I've been on this. Anyway, bucket trowel to load, followed by a bullnose trowel. Now, a lot of people like gauging trowels or finger trowels. I'll show you why I like bullnose trowel. Bucket trowel, because you go around a bucket, right? You don't want a gauging trowel or anything to load your hawk up. Well, I mean, you could use a teaspoon to load this up, but you know. Tea. Try and put it on the floor, otherwise it'll go all over the place. Right. Got a bit cold now. Mortar. Nice and sticky. Little white lumps in it, so that you can actually see it's an authentic quicklime mortar, because you won't get lumps. You won't get any of these little white lumps in a putty or an NHL, right? Or a powdered quicklime. Now bear in mind that a powdered quicklime will expand a little when it has water added to it, right? But for a proper, real, genuine, authentic quicklime, you need kibble, because you really do get some expansion. Now I know Nigel Copsey says you'll get about double the amount of lime. I've looked at it on a number of occasions. I just thought to myself, well, it's not quite double, you know. You probably end up with about anywhere between 1.5 and 1.8 of a gauge to your sand. But it basically means you get a much more lime-rich mortar, which is better for the property, because the more lime you can put into a mortar, the better. Right, so I'll just show you. I'll show you what I've done. What I'm doing, right, and what I'm in the process. And I'm in the process of actually knocking that back. Now, as far as knocking back is concerned, all I'll actually use is that to get it going. Right. This churn brushing, I don't know where that came from. It's from the lime revival. You know, this tapping it with a churn brush, that doesn't work with a hot lime mortar. For me, it barely works with an NHL, but this tap, 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 not my thing, right? Because historically, what I actually say to people, which makes them panic, and sometimes I'll lose jobs over it, but I don't care, is a good case of lime pointing looks like a bad case of plastering, and they're panicking because they think, well, I want to see all my stone in my stone cottage, but the problem is, over the decades, particularly if it's had cement mortar in, bare stone exposed to the elements just rots. It's terrible for it, you know. So the more lime you can actually get on an elevation or a wall, the better. So I know some people, when they're doing YouTube videos, I see them doing the pointing thing, and they go like this. some people who are a bit quicker will go right, but for me it's the amount of time it takes to take it off the hook, lift it up and put it in. I ain't got no time for that because I make a living at this, all right? And so this is how you actually apply. None of this scrape, scrape, scrape. I used to be a motorcycle courier in London, which means that my patience goes into minus numbers as far as anything's concerned. Right? I want to get the job done as quickly as possible without compromise on quality. Right? And it doesn't make any difference whether it's brick or stone or whatever. Right? You hold the hawk up to the wall and you get it on. Okay? None of this messing about, this poncy, especially when you see people with finger trowels going scrape, scrape. Looks lovely. It's like, look at me, I'm dead cool, I'm pointing. Yeah, well, get it on. Right, slap it on, right, because you're going to knock it back. And it doesn't really matter about staining because it's lime mortar and it's tough shit. Right, you're going to get stains and you're going to get cracking. Right, there's far too much of this poncified nonsense about, oh, we can't possibly have a crack. Yeah, well you can, because if you look at historic mortar, it's cracked to buggery because it's lime and so it shrinks and it leaves cracks, right? They'll stay there for hundreds of years, it doesn't matter, right? And all this nonsense as well about lime being self-healing, that's a pile of pants as well. It's rubbish, right? Lime does not self-heal. Like, it doesn't grow another leg or something, do you know what I mean? If you got a hole or a crack in your lime, that's it, it's staying there, but it doesn't do any harm, right? And years ago, this wall would have never have just been pointed and left, right? It would have been lime washed, because everybody knows that what you do is you separate the stone or the brick from the atmosphere. Because I don't know whether you've noticed, right, but this planet is lethal, right? It'll kill you, right? In fact, almost anything in this planet, on this planet, suffers in some way, right? Particularly stone, right? So if you leave, you know, you might spend £500,000 or £1 million or £1.5 billion on a lovely grade 2 listed building. I guarantee you the first thing you want to do is you want to see as much stone as possible because you bought a stone house or a stone cottage or a converted barn. That's not the ethos. That's not healthy for the house, right? So when you get somebody to come around and do pointing, what you need is as much of the stone covered as possible, because a good case of pointing is a bad case of plastering. You don't want all the stone on show like it's been put in by like the mortar's been put in like a 5-year-old. You want it on and spread and scrape back so it's nice and smooth, right? What you want, I'm gonna take this back to smooth, okay? That's all I'm interested in, right? Get it smooth, get it covered. I do not want recessed joints. I want the smallest amount. You know, one of the nice things about lime mortar and stone is that it complements. They both complement each other beautifully, right? So when you do actually have a wall, which has got a lot of lime mortar in, because the lime mortar is made from stone. It's made from crushed limestone. The quick lime is made from crushed limestone. It's all limestone, and so it resonates. You look at it and you go, look at that, it's fantastic. So even when you see bare render, you think, oh, look at that, that looks lovely, that does, doesn't it? Yeah, you know, when you see lime wash, you look at it, if the render's been lime washed, you look at it, you just think, something about it, there's something just more, right, than ordinary paint, right? What we're looking at, what we're talking about is opacity, right? So, let me see, what else can I tell you? bang it on, get it on thick, scrape it back. Now you can do whatever you want with that. You can take a wire brush to it if you want and just give it a bit of a scrape back. Job done. Right, you can take a piece of dowel or a trowel or something like that. You can take finer brushes, you can take horsehair brushes, you can do whatever you want with that. Right, don't leave any mortar standing proud, and you don't want recessed joints, because I've seen lime pointing and I just think to myself, you know, there's a lot of lime pointing out there which is a product of what I call, well, sorry, I beg your pardon, I can't take any credit for that really, that's a Nigel Copsey term, the lime revival of the 1980s, right? All the builders and everybody was using cement, except for the stonemasons, right? They stuck with lime. And then the conservation department ushered in natural hydraulic lime, which, because of the low amount of lime actually present in an NHL, it means that just a small amount of brushing results in a lot of the mortar when it hits that sweet point, actually just getting brushed out, and so you end up with really recessed joints. And if you're trying to protect your stone, the last thing you want is actually ledges for frost to sit on. And you want, you know, the idea is you put in as much lime mortar as you possibly can, so that lime mortar absorbs all the moisture, and it pulls away all the moisture from the face of the stone after it gets wet or rains or whatever. You know, as much lime on the inside. So lime plaster, lime pointing, lime wash, lime paints, clay paints, anything porous, you know, flexible, get it in on the inside, and then as far as the outside's concerned, the absolute bare minimum you should be doing is pointing, right? Minimum pointing. If you can, lime wash, right? Make sure it's a hot mixed lime. What I did in there with the trug, right? That if it had just been left and I'd have stirred it a bit and added a little bit more water and what have you, that would have been lime wash, and I would have just got a brush and I'd just pasted it all over, right? You can add a pigment, make it look nice. You know, back in the day, they would use lamp black, they'd use animal blood, you know, 9 times out of 10 it was pig's blood, and you get this resonating colour. You know, it's like when you drive through the countryside and you see genuine lime wash cottages and you go like, oh, look at that, it just looks absolutely fantastic. It's beautiful, right? It's because what you've got is carbonated lime, which is sitting over the surface of stone, protecting it, and it looks lovely. It just looks right. You know, you can forget Dulux and Crown and your masonry paints and all that sort of stuff. You know, your Dulux weather shields. That's the single most worst thing you can ever possibly put on stone and brick, unless it's a new build. You know, it'll rot your stone within a few seasons, and then people are saying, we're getting damp. You know, I'm looking on Facebook and you know, in fact I get kicked off damp Facebook pages which are devoted to damp, and you know, I've got damp in my house. Why? I can't believe it. I've gypsum plastered everything, I've sealed everything up with silicone sealer, you know, I've pointed this up in good strong solid cement. You know, I've cemented the floors, I've cemented this, I've sealed that, I've put waterproof masonry, waterproof plastic paint on everything, and I can't believe it. The house is just, it's in a terrible state. We've got condensation everywhere, we've got rising damp, we've got this. I'm thinking of just moving into a new build. Yes. Yeah, and then Mike comes along and imparts a little bit of wisdom, and I can tell you this, it isn't appreciated, you know, especially when I start taking the mick out of them. But at the end of the day, you know, you would think that everybody would know this stuff about lime and lime plaster, and you know, they call it breathability, right? But as I've said before, it's not. There's no breathing involved. There's nowhere this breathability. Oh yeah, lime's great, it breathes. No, it doesn't. It will not breathe. It cannot breathe. It's physically impossible for a lime mortar to breathe. It's vapor permeable. It displays the characteristics of capillarity, okay? And so a lime mortar like this, with 90% free lime, reduced slightly because of the amount of pots then we're putting in, down to about CL80, maybe even say CL75. Still knocks spots off the best of the best of the best NHL2s, right? Oh God, I've lost the plot again. I've forgotten what I was going to say. Oh, I always do that. Right, anyway, look, you get the gist of it. You know where I'm going. That's it. The damp proofing wallies, right? The damp wallies, right? You know, you think everybody would know this, no? But there's an entire segment of the population that just has no idea about how older properties are actually meant to work. You know, about how they work mechanically. In that the single most worst thing you can do is shore everything up and seal everything up, and you know the last thing I hate to say it, but you know these EPC ratings, they're rubbish. They are absolutely rubbish. You know, in fact, the best thing you can possibly have for your house is single glazed is single glazing. You know, the last thing you want to be doing is insulating. You know, insulate Britain. No. Sorry, you're wrong. It's completely wrong. You want a decent log fire, right? You want a decent log fire and some drafts. Yeah, I can't actually live in a modern house. You know, the best I can do is something 1930s. You know, anything more than that, with everything sealed up and this and that and the other. You know, forget it. In new build, I'll just get the flu. I'll die. You know. Anyway, right. So I must get back to doing hard work in Oxfordshire and piling the mortar onto a wall and things. Talking, everybody walks past. Right. Okay. I'm just so reluctant to show you how I finish mortar, because if I do, right, then everybody knows, and I don't really want that, you know. But just knock it back, scrape it back. Do what you feel as if you go with your gut on it, you know. Anyway, all right. Thanks for your time. Cheers.